SOSG, 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 standing on solid ground.
Hello, this is Kim with Standing on Solid Ground. I am your host of this motivational and inspirational podcast. And today I want to start a new series called the Mendacious Characters, meaning those individuals that were involved with or had some contact with essential warriors, but they were not such good people. They were not the type of individuals that you will want to have on your side on a daily basis. And today I want to start with Laban. Laban was the father of Rachel and Leah, who also was the father-in-law of Jacob. Now, Laban was again, like I said, the father of Rachel and Leah, who had taken Jacob in. Jacob had come to his home and asked for Rachel to be a part of his life, to be his wife. And, Laban had told him, well, if you dwell with us 7 years and that you, maintain with us, of course you can have Rachel. Laban was kind of a user. He was a deceiver. He was somewhat of a hustler in that day and time. Those that will use you to get what they want from you, so you will work harder to get what you want from them. And in this case, this is what Laban, Rachel and Leah's father, did. He was a deceiver. He was a user, a manipulator. He thought that he can have Jacob maim his land, his flock, his sheep, his lamb, all of these herds of animals, and take care of his land and take care of his animals, and where for in exchange for Rachel, his younger daughter. Well, he kind of slipped in Leah instead, the older daughter, because she was not as fair or as pretty as Rachel was. And in doing so, he knew that he really wanted to be with Rachel. Laban knew that Jacob really wanted to be with Rachel. And in order for him to continue maintaining the land and taking care of his flock and around his yard and his land and everything, he knew to keep him there just a little bit longer, I'll go ahead and I'll slip Leah in instead. And then you want to throw in the law all of a sudden. Well, we can't give our younger daughter to wife until we give the older daughter to wife. So why wasn't that explained to Jacob before he dwelled with him that 7 years? A manipulator, a user, a mendacious person. And so as Jacob had to swallow this, because now he has laid with Leah. He's wanting Rachel, and he's wanting Rachel just so badly. He made a deal with them and stated, if you stay with us another 7 years, I'll give you Rachel. Well, that is very condescending and very demeaning, very disrespectful, to say the least. Because what you are doing, you are causing a very emotional part of Jacob to keep, he's doing everything he possibly can, from hitting you. From saying, oh, forget it. I'm not going to stay with you another 7 years. Here I am doing this and I'm doing that. You're laying back, reaping all the benefits of my labor, and I can't even get what I want. Well, because of his desire being with Rachel, he dwelled with him another 7 years. Well, of course, he went on, Rachel went on to him, and he was able to be with the woman that he wanted to be with in the first place. Now, in doing so, unfortunately, Rachel was barren, but Leah wasn't. And he go and he lay up with Leah, and here comes the first child, and then he go and he's with her again, and here is the second son, third son. Before you know it, he has 6 sons and a daughter, Dinah, with Leah. And here is Rachel, the most beautiful one out of the 2, is barren. Well, have we all of, women, and I'm going to get back to Laban, but it's very interesting that we women, we want a man to love us so much that we're willing to give them children. And say, if we give him this child, he'll love me. And we do get to be that way a little bit. And, of course, Rachel became resentful towards her sister because she was barren and Leah was not. But anyway, Laban actually began seeing, okay, now that he has both of these women, he's got to figure out another way to trick Jacob into staying. Well, because Leah was the one that was given the children and Rachel was barren, God eventually had opened up her womb for her to have a child. Gave birth to this baby boy, and now Jacob is ready to pack up his wives, to pack up the concubines, to pack up all of these women and his children, that they can go their way. Well, here Laban is again. He's trying to hustle up a way to keep Jacob there, because if he's tilling the land, if he's feeding the flock, if he's watering and making sure that they are fed and watered, then what all the upkeep that is required for this. When he leave, he got to go back doing this, and he's got to figure out, no, I can't let him go. I don't want to do this work. It's too much hard work. Let me go out here and figure out another way to get him to stay again. Well, eventually, yes, he did stay another 7 years. But by this time, this is 21 years later. And, Jacob was not too happy. He said, now he's not paying me the way he's supposed to be paying me. I have done everything that he has requested me to do. He deceived me because he did not make me aware that I had to be with Leah. That the oldest could not, that the youngest could not be married before the oldest. The oldest had to be married first. He did all this ungodliness, and Jacob wasn't liking it too much. And he was like, just let us go. And see, I found it very interesting that they have to make the request known to the head of the house to let them go so they can journey on their way. But in this case, Laban was going to do everything that he possibly could do to keep Jacob from leaving, because he did not want to do that work. And if you relate that in today's time, how many people or have come across where they will do everything that they possibly can do to keep you held back from doing the things that you want to do, so they can consume your life because they don't want to do the work. Like someone that's living in your household that cook, that clean, that do laundry, that keep the kids, that do this and do that. And if they quit or leave, you're stuck doing this work and you don't want to do it. And that was the thing. If Jacob left, Laban did not want to do that work, or his sons. They wanted to leave all that work on Jacob. And I find that very, very, very disrespectful. But the angel of God had to come to Jacob and tell him, you need to get your wives, their maids, all of your flock, everybody out, because Laban is not doing right. Well, Laban had one more little thing that he wanted to do. He wanted him to pick out the clean animals and the spotted animals to raise them, and and to divide them. Well, Jacob got smart. He said, all those with speckles, and they are with blemishes and speckles and things that I don't want, I'm going to leave to Laban. And all those that are clean and pure, I'm going to take with me. Well, the sons of Laban was thinking that Jacob was doing him an injustice, like he robbing daddy. He's not doing right by daddy. He's taking all the good flock and leaving daddy all the bad flock. But rightfully so, because Laban did not do right by Jacob. He did not pay him according to how he promised him he was going to pay him. He didn't do right. He was a deceiver. He was very deceptive in his work. And Jacob was doing all the labor. And he didn't pay him rations according to how he had promised him that he was going to do. Well, God told him, you better get on up out of there. But the problem was the daughter, and I believe that it was Rebecca. And I have to go back and read that again, because I've been reading and hearing over and over again that it was so fascinating. Now I don't remember which daughter it was, had stole some things from their father. And when he stole the things, she stole these things from the father. She had to hide them out, and she took them away and everything. That Laban come looking for Jacob, and wanted to accuse him of stealing from him. And he said, now wait a minute, you gonna tell me I'm stealing from you, and yet you robbed me for the past 21 years. You haven't paid me according to my words. You haven't done right by me, and you're going to come and say to me that I'm robbing from you? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sit here and accept that. But he did not know that one of his daughters had taken those things from him. But, she was laying up in the tent. And she was saying, I can't move. I'm among this time, and to be purified and to clean. And I believe that was during her time of her monthly. And, so he didn't ask her to move, but he looked around to see where all of if he could find what was stolen from him, and he couldn't. Well, she had hid it away and tucked it away where it could not be found, and she was found, and she was laying on these pillows, and her dad wasn't going to go in there and tell her to move. But the whole point is this: you always going to have that one person that's going to run that hustle. And although God saw what Laban was doing towards Jacob, God yet blessed him. And although Jacob was possibly mad enough to want to put an end to Laban's life, he did not. But what he did, he made peace. In other words, he forgave him for what he did. But he had to go on and move on with his life, because you know what? I believe that Jacob had to think about what he did to his brother, Esau. Taking his birthright and his blessing. So you have to kind of think back why these things was happening to you. Now, although God had anointed Jacob to do what he did, the way that he did it, it was deceitful. Think about it. What goes around comes around. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. So, in closing, with this new series, Mendacious Characters, I want us to understand and to regulate that when we do something to someone, it doesn't always come back immediately. It can come back subtly. And in the case of Jacob, that's exactly what it did. It came back in a subtle way. Because if we go further on, Jacob had to make peace with Esau. And I will work with that story at a later time. So, Laban, the mendacious character, although he did wrong, God still blessed anyhow. This is Kim with Standing on Solid Ground. You have yourself a wonderful and blessed day.